When we talk about family patterns, we should not focus solely on the negative aspects we inherit from our ancestors. After all, much of what is passed down from generation to generation carries a positive influence that shapes our thoughts and actions. Each family is a unique system formed by a set of behavioral beliefs that guide how we learn and face life. In other words, for each issue, each family may assign a different value and unique meaning. This dynamic is typically passed down from one generation to the next. Furthermore, according to the epigenetic theory, DNA holds a wealth of information. Throughout our lives, some of this information is suppressed while other parts are expressed, but all of it is transmitted genetically to our children. Often, even dysfunctional behaviors persist because a person cannot change something that is ingrained in their genes. When you think you've learned the lesson, it happens again. This can manifest in various ways. In romantic relationships, you end a relationship and start a new one with someone completely different from your previous partner, but before long, the same conflicts arise. This can manifest as a chronic or recurring illness. It can also show up as depressive states, anxiety, or panic, even after changing your lifestyle, leaving a job you disliked, or earning 10 times more than before. In some Eastern traditions, this is called samsara, the cycles of life and death that can repeat for millennia. So, first, I'd like to explain why you should be alert to your patterns of repetition and share some ways to break free from them. Generational curses. This concept has been passed down through the ages, and it's time to shed light on it. Essentially, it's the idea that patterns of negativity, failure, or even trauma can be inherited from our ancestors and affect our lives today. It's a heavy burden to carry, often manifesting in forms like self-sabotaging behaviors or recurring relationship problems. The question is, can we break free from these cycles and create a better future for ourselves and our families? So, what is it like to be stuck in these generational patterns? Imagine living with the weight of your family's history on your shoulders, feeling as though you're destined to repeat the same mistakes over and over. It's like being trapped in an endless cycle of negativity and hopelessness. Every time you try to make a change, you're pulled back by these invisible forces that seem to be working against you. It's frustrating, suffocating, and incredibly disempowering. You start to wonder if you'll ever be able to break free and carve your own path.
It's not just about you.
These patterns can affect your relationships, your career, and even your physical and mental health. You might find yourself repeating arguments with your partner that your parents used to have, or struggling with anxiety and depression stemming from unresolved wounds from your childhood. It feels like you're constantly reacting to life instead of making conscious choices about it. And the worst part is, you might not even realize you're trapped in these patterns because they've been normalized for so long. Repetitive patterns are like prisons. You're essentially stuck in an idea, concept, or belief that prevents you from seeing new possibilities. These patterns can have many origins. Some come from our ancestors. All the women in my family suffered abuse or were drawn to unhealthy relationships, and the same thing happens to me. Some come from our family of origin. All the men in my family became doctors, and I feel like I'm betraying family tradition by choosing a different career. It can also come from society. Women are meant to have children, so I feel immense pressure to have kids, even though I don't want to. Or I even ended up having children without feeling ready. You've probably seen a story like this, or may even identify with it. If you don't stay alert, you'll always repeat the past or follow what society dictates. In Hinduism, Shiva is called Swayambhu, which means self-born or without parents. In other words, he is someone who no longer carries even his parents within him. He has freed himself from family patterns and even genetic patterns. Now, he is truly whole, carrying nothing from anyone else. So, being on the divine path means, first and foremost, freeing yourself from your patterns. And why is that? So that the truth, your real self, can act and manifest in this world. Otherwise, as long as there are beliefs and patterns limiting the self, you are destined to a life of endless repetition, which means staying stuck, without evolving. Many masters or seekers, those on the path of self-development, spend their entire lives working to break these patterns. because although simple, it's not an easy task. The good news is that these patterns don't have to define our destiny. By recognizing them, working through the underlying emotions and beliefs, and making conscious choices about the life we want to live, we can begin to break free from these cycles. It won't be easy, and it won't happen overnight, but the potential for transformation is immense. Imagine being able to release the weight of your family's history and carve out your own path in life. Imagine creating a brighter future for yourself and your loved ones, free from the burdens of the past. Breaking free from a pattern is difficult because it provides a certain comfort due to its familiarity. Humans feel safer in predictable situations and highly stressed in new, unpredictable ones. As a result, we always tend to choose the paths we already know, no matter how painful or disastrous they might be. For example, a girl grows up with a violent father and, as an adult, ends up with a husband who is also violent. While unacceptable to many, this dynamic might feel familiar and even natural to her. This is an extreme example, but it happens at many other levels of abuse. For instance, relationships that are extremely verbally aggressive. Relationships where only one person dominates and controls the dynamic. Or even the violence we inflict on ourselves, such as excessive self-criticism or constant comparisons to others. All of these are unhealthy patterns that imprison us. They prevent us from experiencing something new, a healing, a rebalancing. Breaking a pattern means letting go of all your beliefs about life, your career, your relationships, your family, and who you are in society. It requires a great deal of detachment. And it requires trust. Trust that there is something far more beautiful and better beyond these walls of belief and attachment. Pathways to freedom. Here are some possible steps to help you break free from the patterns that imprison you. 1. Become aware that the pattern exists. Notice when something keeps repeating in your life or in your family. Sometimes it's very obvious. Other times, it's more subtle and disguised. 2. Consciously choose not to repeat it. Choosing not to repeat it doesn't mean forcing yourself to do the opposite or trying hard to prevent it from happening again. It means asking internally for the pattern to end here. Trust that your true self will know how to make it happen. 3. Understand what benefit the pattern brings. As twisted as it may seem, deep down, the pattern is preserving something. Discover its root, and you'll understand why it continues in your life. 4. Honor the past, acknowledge and revere it. This pattern may have been established generations ago or created more recently in your life. Detaching from a pattern is challenging, and one of the best ways to do so is to look at it with gratitude, acknowledge all it taught you, and perhaps even mourn it to say goodbye properly.
5. From now on, choose a new path.
Once you've recognized the pattern, understood its origins, and honored it, it's time to let it go. Thank it, release it, and open yourself to new possibilities. And here is where trust comes in. Trust in the existence of a reality that is much happier, freer, and more harmonious. Doing something different often generates fear, even if unconscious, of losing the love of family members or facing rejection. However, we are unique individuals, and when we allow ourselves to engage in a process of self-discovery, we realize that we can differentiate ourselves without necessarily severing ties with those we love. It's important not to let family patterns become an obligation, whether in the sense of breaking them or maintaining them. Keep the repertoire available for your understanding, and when you feel ready and comfortable to break or modify it, do so. Engaging in exercises aimed at developing self-awareness can be helpful, as they will teach you to recognize your needs and values and assess how you wish to relate to yourself and others. This will undoubtedly help you identify recurring patterns or behaviors you've learned that are being repeated. However, if the repetition of family patterns is causing serious consequences for yourself and your relationships, hypnosis may be a good option. This tool creates a safe environment for reflecting on the origins of your behaviors, helping you uncover their roots within your family culture. This reflection fosters awareness and makes it easier to develop strategies to break family patterns in a more gradual and less harmful way. In conclusion, freeing yourself from generational curses is possible, but it requires awareness, self-reflection, and a willingness to make conscious choices about the life you want to lead. It's not easy, but the potential for transformation is immense. Remember, you are not alone, and you have the power to change your story. Take the first step today. Thank you for watching, and if you've ever struggled with generational curses, I'd love to hear about your experiences in the comments below. Also, if you're interested in learning more about personal growth and healing, don't miss my next video.